Pass interference or no pass interference? Well, that is a true question of what happened in the NFC wildcard game between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. It ended up being a big one, too, because that would have been a huge first down for Detroit, kept the ball rolling, and you never know what could happen. Of course, Detroit losing that one 20-17. Now, guys, you guys heard what I just said. Was that a pass interference call or not?
How many penalties were on that play? I think there's a better call. There's a holding call. There's pass interference. Like, it was clearly pass interference.
At worst, you would have given a 5-minute penalty. Or a 5-yard penalty.
At least give him something. Like, hell, give him the ball back. Like, don't pick up the flag. Leave it on the ground for the rest of the game. But, like, to have a game like that, like, and then you blow it on that kind of call, like, it's so obvious that it's a call. Like, it wasn't, could go either way. No, clearly pass interference and clearly.
The guy turned to the ball is what you're saying. So the Detroit receiver was trying to grab the ball. You didn't see any movement, no head turn from the Dallas defender. I will say this. Was there any contact that was forced by the defender or the offensive player? That's the question. Because we couldn't get an answer from the referees, even though the NFL came down yesterday and said it was a holding call, and that should have been a 5-yard penalty automatically.
Oh, that's good. That's good a couple of days later, and that's really helps Detroit right now. You know what? And it was just not that game. If you watch the other 3 games this weekend, there were some very questionable calls, like game after game, and you were left going, geez, that's not right. But that's the way it happens.
There was explanations that all the officiating crews were not with their original teams. So they kind of put a hodgepodge of people together. And so you're not with the same crew you'd have Ed Hockley and his people that he knows, his line judges, that sort of thing. That was non-existent. They had different guys in different situations, so that could have played a factor in terms of communication. But I do want to talk about the on-field, in particular with the Cowboys. What do you think of Tony Romo's performance? Has he kind of shed that moniker of, you know what, this guy can't win the big game? Because when it counted, he drove the ball and got those touchdowns when needed.
Well, that's kind of what Tony Romo was known for. Like, you pick him up in fantasy football for him to do those at the end of the game. You know Dallas is going to get killed, and you pick him up because he's going to run down the field. Dallas is we just talked about Toronto media. Dallas is the football media capital of the world, and it's until he wins, I think, a little bit more. One's fine. You gotta win. I think has he won one before? You gotta win another one.
He's won 2 now, but can they win in Green Bay?
No. Rodgers will be lights out at home. They're tough to beat at home. You know what? And say Tony Romo's an elite quarterback. So you're comparing him to Brady, you're comparing him to Rodgers, you're comparing him to Manning, even Wilson. And I can't see him being in the top 4. He's won big games and comeback games in October, November, and December. He has to do that now in the month of January. If he starts winning games in January, then he can be considered.
I have them beating Green Bay, the only team in the NFL to go undefeated in the only undefeated team on the road this season, Dallas Cowboys, and they'll go 9-0 with a win in Green Bay. Okay, now you think that's crazy. How about this? Baltimore's defense absolutely demolished Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row with Tom Brady in New England and those Patriots?
If there is an upset this weekend, I say that is the one. You know what? As much as Brady, the jury was out on him and his team in the early part of the season. Then they basically kind of got on a rolled into the playoffs. But at the same time, you kind of wonder about Brady and you wonder about his offensive weapons if he has enough of them this weekend. I think if anybody pulls off the upset, it's going to be Baltimore.
And these two know each other so well. They seemingly play each other every year in the playoffs. So if anyone's going to pull an upset, if you even want to count that as an upset, it's going to be. Yeah, I'll give it to the Ravens. That's my team, too.
Well, you're going with the Ravens? All right, guys. I see how this. I say Patriots. How about this one? Luck, Manning, Part 3. Each guy's won. Peyton's won a game. Andrew Luck has won a game. Who wins the decider in the divisional playoff in Denver?
I give it to the old man. I think Manning will come through as much as there's. You know what? There's people doubting him right now. In the last number of weeks, he's looked pretty average. Like he's looked human. I think this weekend he'll show Peyton Manning what he really is, and I think he'll win. Will they get to the big game? I don't think so, but he'll win this weekend.
I think that's the thing. He wants to get to that big game. I think if he won it this year, he would retire this year, and he'd be done. So if he wants to retire this year, let's win it all. I don't know if them coming off a bye too. I'd still give it to Manning. He is what you call the elite quarterback. If you ever talk about an elite quarterback, it's Peyton Manning. And Andrew Luck is getting there. Indy's there. They will be. Maybe not this year though, but maybe next year. Like they're going to be an elite team as well. So it is a toss-up, but I'm still going to go with Manning.
All right, guys, I'll have to agree with you, unfortunately. Because of that, we're going to have to take another timeout and be back with more gloves over under next.